Good morning, children. So, we were discussing the chapter number 4, the Mughal Empire. In this chapter, till now, we have discussed about the Red Forts, about the Mughal Empire, about who were the Mughals basically, about two lineages of the Mughals we have discussed, as well as we have discussed about the pictorial celebration of the uh, pictorial genealogy we can say by the Mughals as they were drawing their picture um, as they're sitting in the group with their ancestors. And the Mughal military campaign also we have discussed, as well as we have discussed about the Mughal traditions of succession. In these two things of tradition, succession of the tradition, we have seen that is primogeniture and the copercenary. Then Mughal relations with the other rulers, this also we have discussed. Then we have discussed about different positions of the different officials like Mansabdars and Jagirdars, as well as we have understood the concepts of Zabt and Zamindar. Then we have also understood the topic of the Akbar Nama or Aina Akbari, which was written by the Abul Fazl, the close friend as well as the courtier of the Akbar. Then we have also tried to understand, we have also taken the part that is a closer look Akbar's policies, means a closer look to Akbar's. What were the policies of the Akbar's that we were discussing? In this, we have seen that Noor Jahan's influence in the Jahangir's courts. In the Jahangir's court, Noor Jahan, his wife, had very much importance, and he also printed or minted the coin which explains or which praises the Noor Jahan. Who was the Noor Jahan? Actually, the Mehrun Nisa was called as the Noor Jahan. It was a kind of a position of a woman in the uh, Mughal Empire at that time. And now we were discussing, we have left this point on the page number 54. So let's start from the same point where we have left. So Akbar's nobles commanded large armies and had access to large amounts of revenue. While they were loyal, the empire functioned efficiently, but by the end of the 17th century, many nobles had built independent networks of their own. Their loyalties to the empire were weakened by their own self interest. So, in this point actually we have understood in the last period only. What we have understood in this last period, that how the Mughal Empire started to decline in the 17th century, till all the nobles that were appointed by the Mughals were loyal to the Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire remained prosperous. But as day by day these nobles were becoming so powerful or they gained so much of wealth, they stopped or they started to leave the loyalty, their loyalties with the empire. And this is why the Mughal Empire started to decline or Mughal Empire started to become weakened. Now, the next point here that we are going to understand, before going to understand this point, we will understand the meaning of two words, that is dogma and bigot. What is dogma basically? A statement or an interpretation declared as authoritative with the expectation that it would be followed without question. What is dogma actually? It is a kind of a statement or an interpretation, and it is declared by the in such a way that is that it was expected that nobody will ask or raise the question against that. So it is dogma is a kind of a statement. And what is bigot? Bigot is an individual who is intolerant of another person's religious beliefs or culture. That means if number of people are living, those who are following or practicing the different religious, different caste or different kind of religious background, so at that time an individual, a person, individual means what? A person who is intolerant of another person's religious beliefs or culture. So for example, if a person is belong to a particular religion and another person belongs to another religion, so if they hate that person or they are not ready to tolerate them, so this kind of individual are called as the bigot. So let's try to understand what is special about this paragraph. So while Akbar was at Fatehpur Sikri during 1570s, he started discussions on religion with the ulama, brahmanas, Jesuit priests who were Roman Catholics and Zoroastrians. These discussions took place in the Ibadat Khana. He was interested in the religion that social in the religion and social customs of different people. Akbar's interaction with people of different faiths made him realize that religious scholars who emphasized ritual and dogma were often bigots. Their teachings created divisions and disharmony amongst his subjects. This eventually led Akbar to the idea of Sulhikul or a universal peace. This idea of tolerance did not discriminate between people of different religions. In his realm, uh, instead, it focused on a system of ethics, honesty, justice, peace that was universally applicable. Abul Fazl helped Akbar in framing a vision of governance around this idea of Sulhikul. This principle of governance was followed by Jahangir as well as Shah Jahan. Let's try to understand what is it actually. So, when Akbar was in Fatehpur Sikri in 1570s, he started discussing with different religious leaders. For example, he started to discuss about with the ulamas as well as Brahman pandits, Jesuit priests who were Roman Catholics and Zoroastrians. So these are all the different religions, different we can say the religious leaders. So he started discussion with them. Why he started to discuss with them? This discussion took place in the Ibadat Khana. See, the place actually meaning of Ibadat Khana means what? Where the people are praying to their God. So he started to take this discussion in the Ibadat Khana, and he was very interested in the religion and social customs of different people. Means as he was belonging to Muslim religion, even then he was interested to discuss the different social customs of the different people belonging to the different religious background. So Akbar's interaction with people of different faith made him realize that religious scholars who emphasized ritual and dogma were often bigots. So what he realized, that whatever the dogmas were there, that were said by the uh, religious leaders, different kind of ritual or dogma. We have already understood the dogma. What is dogma? A statement or an interpretation declared as authoritative. Authoritative means what? That means once this kind of the statements would be made, nobody will raise the question against that. And if anybody raises the question against this kind of dogmas, they will be punished by the religious laws. So in that way, so that time when Akbar started to discuss with the different religious leaders, they he came across the he realized that religious scholars who emphasize ritual and dogma were often bigots. Bigots means what? Intolerance. Intolerance of other person's religion. Means if any person or any particular community is belonging to the different religion, and at such time this kind of religious leader, many of the religious leaders were asking them or asking their followers to do whatever the religious leaders have told them to do, and it was the kind of the bigot means what? Intolerance of other person's religion or religious beliefs. For example, if any particular person is praying to the praying to a particular deity, and other person is uh, praying to another deity. So um, at such time, the individual who becomes intolerant of other another person's religious beliefs or culture, actually these were all he the Akbar came to know that these all the things were actually was not the part of the religion, but it was the dogma which was often created by the religious leaders. So their teachings created divisions and disharmony. So this religious leaders' teachings and whatever the teachings were there, these were these dogma and bigots were creating the divisions and disharmony amongst his subjects. Means the people was divided into number of parts, or they were continuously in disharmony. Means the people were not living in the harmony, or people were not living together. They were actually divided on the basis of this kind of dogmas and bigots. This eventually led Akbar to the idea of Sulhi-Kul. So, when he understood the reality of the religious background, when he started to discuss with all this with the religious leaders, he came to establish the Sulhi-Kul. What is Sulhi-Kul actually? Sulhi-Kul is the meaning of Sulhi-Kul is universal peace. This idea of tolerance, the Sulhi Kul or universal peace, was the idea of the tolerance, and this did not discriminate between people of different religions in his realm. So he made such an idea that the idea of Sulhi Kul or universal peace started to, with the help of this, the people has started one operation with the help of which the we can say with the help of which the Akbar has tried to maintain the harmony in his realm, and in this way he also ensured that the people will not become intolerant. He say he tried to he tried to establish the tolerance in the society in his realm, as well as no person will discriminate between different people of different religion. This also he ensured with the help of the idea of the Sulhikul. Instead, it also focused on system of ethic, honesty, justice, and peace. So instead of these all the things, he also focus on the systems like ethics, honesty, justice, peace, that was universally applicable. Abul Fazl helped Akbar in framing all this idea of the Sulhikul, as well as he helped Akbar in framing of vision of governance around this idea of Sulhikul. This principle of governance was followed by Jahangir, Shahjahan as well. So after Akbar, Jahangir as well as Shahjahan both have followed the idea of Sulhikul. They also followed the idea of Sulhikul, which was established by Akbar. What is Sulhikul? And a little thing is written about the Sulhikul in this point. Jahangir, Akbar's son, described his father's policy of Sulhikul in the following words. So the Jahangir has explained his father's means Akbar's policy of Sulhikul in the following words. So let's try to understand. So, as in the wide expanse of the divine compassion, there is room for all classes and the followers of all creeds, so in his imperial dominions, which on all sides were limited only by the sea, there was room for the professors of opposite religions and for beliefs, good and bad, and the road to intolerance was closed. Sunnis and Shias met in one mosque, and Christians and Jews in one church to pray. He consistently followed the principles of universal peace or Sulhikul. So, in this way, he explained that how Akbar has made all different religious people to come together and sit together and pray together, and in this way, he became able, or it became possible to maintain the harmony in his realm. Thank you very much.